Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Essentials Intelligence. This is for March of 2018. We've been gone for a little bit because last month I can't remember what was happening. Something crazy was happening. We didn't quite get there, so it's been a couple months. So we've got a little bit to talk about. We obviously had Rewind. That was basically a month ago. Rewind happened. That was what happened. Now I remember. But yeah, so we've got a little bit to talk about. Going to be talking about a little bit about Rewind, a bit more about Copenhagen. As the one most recent and the upcoming LAN. We'll be talking about ETF12 playoffs for season 29, and we're going to be talking about ESEA playoffs. Speaking of ESEA playoffs, we have NA's answer to TurboDad. It is your boy, Cornpop. How's it going?
Pretty good.
It's no understatement to basically say that you carry the entirety of NA production. I hear you're kind of a big deal around there.
It's a team effort, but we keep it moving along,
And much the same, we have a man famous both in front and behind the camera / production PC, Beta, caster extraordinaire. Didn't you get caster the season last season, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've gotten it the last 2 seasons in a row.
Last 2 seasons, well.
Yeah, so please don't vote for me again, because otherwise I'm going to be insufferable.
I say, I don't know how many times Admirable won it, but I think if we all band together, we can just finally forget that old clown, whoever he really was to begin with,
I miss that clown so much.
I miss that clown too. Come back to us one day. So we have, like I said, a few things to discuss about. We won't dwell too long on Rewind. It was over a month ago, but just in case people live in a massive cave collectively, Rewind happened last month. We had some pretty good games all around. I attended, Cornpop also attended. You were there as a caster. It did some excellent casting. Didn't you cast? You cast the grand finals, didn't you?
Yes, me and Mela did.
And some damn fine casting it was as well. The grand finals were Ascent Froyo, and in case anyone is somehow rewatching old VODs a month later, spoiler alert, Froyo won in a very convincing fashion. 7 Europeans' greatest hope. They didn't do so well. They more or less got destroyed on the second day of games by Mexican food. Suffered food poisoning with Captain, their pocket, who had never played an NA LAN before, and at this rate, may be too scared to go again. So that was unfortunate. I think that
at least too
night,
scared to eat our food.
Yes, well, definitely. I think that night all of Europe was they kind of a little bit worried, hoping he would be good for the next day. No, he wasn't. Like, shout out to Captain. He desperately tried, but you took one look at that guy and you were just like, there's no way. So for that day, Permzilla stepped in. They tried their best, but they were not enough to beat Ascent, who were looking in pretty good form, considering they were missing 2 of their regular players. But unfortunately, there wasn't a team at Rewind which could contest Froyo. Not even close. Froyo just walked away with that LAN.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what you expect from current Froyo.
Definitely.
With Yomps on their roster, they're pretty disgusting.
It is kind of crazy. Yomps was on Pocket, so it was a little bit different to what we've seen recently, but it was dominating. So that's your little bit of a rundown on Rewind. No one really cares about that. That was ages ago. On to the new. We have Copenhagen Games, which is happening, I believe, isn't it? Starting Wednesday, Thursday of the week we're about to have. Which day is it?
Wednesday.
Thursday.
Yeah, we get access to the venue on Wednesday, and then the games start on Thursday. And then
that makes a lot of sense. So Copenhagen Games, not going to be a big international LAN like Rewind. We're going to be having exclusively European teams, but we have some pretty great teams coming. Beta, we have your boys, the hometown veterans of Denmark, the team everyone wants to see come home with the trophy. That is Lego.
Yeah, indeed. I'm obviously rooting for these guys. The only thing that's slightly unfortunate is that they couldn't get Josh to come. He had work, so he just couldn't make it work. But they have Sen and Sorks on Scouts. They have Demul on Dromer, and then they have Condom on Medic. And then the only slight hiccup or change from what we normally see is that we have Phil on Pocket and Domo on Demoman. Domo has played Demoman for them before, so that's not too new. It's not what they do this season. And then Phil is going to play Pocket, which I think he has played before. He might have been Roamer, but he hasn't done it in Prem. I don't think he definitely hasn't done it.
Phil definitely played. I believe he played Pocket when they played High a couple seasons ago. Yeah, I don't think I have seen him play in Prem, but regardless, I think in that team, obviously Phil is, he's like the team captain. He's one of the most well-known players for being like, solely Lego. They are his boys. If anyone was going to replace Phil on Demo, Domo was the boy. When Domo played with Lego, I thought he was just absolutely fantastic. He is such a great demo. He recently took a break, but coming back in the most recent season, he played a lot of games for the Swamp, I believe it was. He was looking pretty good. He absolutely pounded 7 on Viaduct one game. I don't know if people saw that. That was...
I'm so sad I didn't get to see that.
DPM or something.
Yeah, and that's the one where Cadus went 2 for like 27 or something.
yeah. He got absolutely pounded, and Doma was just wiping the floor with them. So that's it. We have Lego hopefully looking to have the home ground advantage, absolutely demolish the competition. But in terms of their main competition, we have a kind of mixed conglomeration of Ascent and Seven in the form of Essentialadas, which I thought, the first time I heard it, I thought was just a bad joke on Twitter, but no, they've apparently gone with it. So that is Thalash Credu on Scouts, Rising and Adiski on Soldiers, Cadus on Demo, and Ombrak on Medic, which is basically just a conglomeration of the 2 top teams in ETFL this season.
Yeah, like the big question mark is Rising, because he hasn't really been playing actively in like a competitive team for a very long time. He's kind of been hanging around. He plays pickup games and that kind of stuff from time and again, but we haven't really seen him in action properly for a very long time. So we don't really know what to expect, but he's playing Roma, so how bad can it be? You just bomb into the skybox and then just have the rest of your team move forward. So I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue, and who knows, maybe Rising just cannot rust. We never know, but it should be an extremely strong team.
He did win Prem only a few short, 9 seasons ago. I think it was season 20 that he came in with Suave and pounded. The only slight hiccup, I think, is with Rising. I'm pretty sure every year he breaks some limb before an I-Series LAN. So I don't know if this is going to be a little bit different. Maybe he's just going to break a finger, or I don't know. That seems to be like the one recurring thing. I'm pretty sure Rising's not been to a LAN where he wasn't on crutches. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. That's, I think, his great legacy at LANs.
Well, let's just hope he breaks a leg this time around so he can just sit down and
Exactly, so he can just sit there and play anyway. But yeah, so in terms of some other teams to run down, not that they're lesser teams, but I would say, Lego and Essentialadas are like the top 2. Very, very close, I would say, is another gloriously named team, MGE Chad, with Potato and Marsh on Scouts, Silentes and Spud on Soldier, Ali on Demo, and Morrow on Medic. Now, so we've got Silentes and Ali, very well known for being on like Swift / what were they before?
Full Tilt?
Full Tilt, and then wasn't it when there's something in the middle? I don't know. Played together for ages. They've, years and years and years, they've played together. And then Spud and Morrow are from, it was a team which did pretty well in High last season, I want to say. They've played together quite a bit. Spud will be playing Pocket as far as I've seen. And then obviously Marsh is just like a real veteran. Potato has played on several Prem teams and with Ams's team at I-61. What was that team called?
Oh, I can't quite remember. But
whatever that team was, they placed 4th, I think, at I-61. So Potato is no slouch either. So another team which DM-wise, that's going to be an Odage team. Maybe lacking the coordination of Lego and the Essentialadas boys.
Yeah, and probably also lacking the coordination of Bus Crew, because that's an actual established team, just completely unchanged going to LAN. That's always kind of special when that happens, right? Well, that's Alba and Deox on Scout, Tops on Roma, Poison on Pocket, John on Demoman, and Martin on Medic. And that's the team that they were playing with in ETF12, although they did finish basically last. So
they did, but LAN is a different environment, And like I said, technically, they're not against any of the teams they lost to. during the season, or at least not in their entirety, because Lego didn't play Prem this season. And the next team we're about to go on to, the Aura Electro team, is also conglomeration. So technically, they're going into this having not lost to any of their opponents fully. Although I believe they've lost to a significant amount of them partially. We'll ignore that. Aura Electro, playing under that brand. It's an Aura Electro / Omni 5, which was Rakuzen conglomeration, another one of these. Nevo and Scruff on Scout, Azunis Eskimo Soldiers, Eames on Demo, and Raptor on Medic. So again, we have basically like, well, probably about 60-70% of Prem seemingly going to this, like being represented at least at this land, which I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah, like, these are all very solid players, and I just expect them to do pretty well. You know, how good is Eskimo compared to some of the other top players? Like, you don't really know, right? Like, it's kind of the same for Eames and Azunis and Scruff and Nevo. Like, they all kind of like on the cusp of being like in the middle of Prem, or maybe they're in high. Like, we don't really know, right? Like, it just only time can really tell us. And then there's even like a few more teams in here that kind of feels the same way. Like we have Robros, which is like the Highlander players with like CJ and Yak and Toast and Seal and Lookman and Wheeljack. Like, that could also be a pretty decent team. And we have a French team called Moore's City Gang, like Clem, Olga, Glassy, Raf, and Alien, Smiley, and Sands. Like, those guys could be pretty good as well, especially when they have a perma pyro on LAN. And if you don't know, the lower your ping is on pyro, the more damage you do. So on LAN, I assume you just do a million kajillion damage. And then finally, we have Lanimals, which is Bloodis, Sui, Mihu, Jimbot, Skyber, and Cider, which are all, I'd say, like at least 4 of those guys are very, very good. So,
Yeah.
So even like,
Who's
it seems to me like we have 2 really good teams that are probably going to dominate quite a bit in Lego and Essentialadas. And then we have like a massive middle field that could all place very differently depending on how well their LAN is going.
Yeah, that's like, to me, just looking at it, Essentialadas and Lego should be at the top. MG Chad, I think, can be at the top, but I think because they're a bit of like a mixed team, they just want to play the event. I don't know whether necessarily they're going to go into it thinking they're going to win. So as a result, might kind of treat it as it's a LAN that you play and then you have some drinks and then you do whatever. So maybe they're not going to be, you know, really thinking, right, let's make sure we win. Whereas, you know, I would hope at least Lego are going into it thinking that, because Lego have done that thing for seasons and seasons where you keep looking at them and it's like, they can own this season or they can own this event. They have everything where it could work, and then they just don't. But this event in Denmark, right? I'm pretty sure it's like a 3-minute walk from half of their houses. Like, there's no excuse for losing this, okay? Other than just being worse.
It's actually a surprising amount of them that don't live in Copenhagen. But yeah, it's a small country. It's very easy to get there. I live about as far away as you can live. It's going to take me 3 hours to get there with the train, right? And that's like going to be the entire travel time for me, because you just arrive in this big city and this has really good public transportation, so getting anywhere is really easy. And then like finding places to sleep is really easy as well, because it's like a big tourist hub as well. Yeah. And there's just so many things to do and see in Copenhagen that it's just used to having like a huge influx of players and people and everything. So it just has the infrastructure to support all of that. So everything's just easy, including for the people that live in Denmark.
Including Lego's win.
Yeah, like Lego's gonna win it. I don't even have a doubt in my mind.
No,
it's pretty much fated. Like, even if we don't have that many Danes in the team, you only have Sen and Dr. Phil, but still,
it doesn't matter.
It's gonna be great. And what?
I mean, it's very. So logically, if we count it in terms of Danes, it's got to be Lego followed by MG, Chad, and Essentialadas, right?
Yeah,
because Essentialadas and MG Chad both have like 1 Dane apiece. Yeah, that makes sense. We'll list an order of Danes. So Lego's going to win. Essentialadas, MG Chad going to fight it out for 2nd and 3rd, and the rest is going to be a big old mess, which is going to be great to watch, but damn near impossible to predict, because it's going to be which boys show up on LAN, which I think is always the fun part of LANs. You know, there's like stuff happens on LAN which doesn't happen anywhere else. People are playing better. People are playing like a little bit differently, where, you know, you can rely on more kind of stuff. Like, soldiers tend to like pound more and scouts tend to like pound a little bit less, because you don't get that weird stuff where Hitscan owns online.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a really good LAN. Definitely to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see everyone joining all of us in Denmark for what I assume is going to be a really fantastic land. But yeah, I think we've pretty much said all that needs to be said about this topic. We should probably move on.
Let's move on to another topic. I feel sorry for you, Compop. We're talking very European. We'll get you. Don't
Oh, it's
worry.
all good. It's all good. You know, I know that the NA time's coming.
It's coming. So next thing we have up on our plate is ETFL playoffs. So we are actually we've already done the first couple games of playoffs, but we'll kind of take just a little bit of step back, like a week back, and we'll say what our top 4 teams are. Technically, our top 4 were Ascent, followed by Seven, followed by the German team, which you're not going to force me to pronounce. Not going to happen. The German team, and then it was Nunya. Nunya did qualify 4th on ETF12. However, because they had 4 men rostered on their page, and the rules stated you must have between 6 and 12, the admins were like, nope, you're out of there, you're gone. And now Omni 5, previously known as Rakuzen, have been thrown into playoffs a little bit by default.
Thank God for that. Like, I really wouldn't want to see a 5v6 showcase again. We did it once in like the main season because they were missing people, and just having them do that for the entire playoffs just kind of removes a lot of the legitimacy from the playoffs. So I'm glad they did that and made that decision.
Yeah.
So just real quick, I'm looking at the Prem brackets like on ATF12. Is the German team the Team Moogle?
They sometimes use the like
Team
that
Moogle
tag. Well, they're called Wer das liest ist doof, which basically means
Oh.
if you read this, you're stupid. That's basically what it means. So it's like we just call them Germans because that's a bit of a mouthful, and they often tag up as Moogle, which is like a German NG god.
I see.
I mean, Lord.
That is your boys. With it was actually the Return of the King. When I heard about that team, your boy Kratos is back from his little adventures in Overwatch. He came back to us. Blessed be him. So 7 Ascent, Germans, Omni 5. Now we've already had the first games, 7 versus the Germans, which was a very, very swift 5-0-5-0, if I'm not incorrect. And we had Ascent versus Omni 5, which was a little bit closer. I can't quite remember the score. I believe Omni 5 got a couple rounds apiece, but ultimately Ascent were still by far the better team. But going into this, I don't know. There's been iffy bits for 7. We saw some really dodgy stuff here and there, mainly because 7's made a lot of changes in the past couple of weeks, past like 3 or 4 weeks, basically since Rewind. Again, for anyone who hasn't been keeping up, Captain and Drac have stepped away from 7. They don't intend on playing regularly again. And more or less how the team has moved is they've taken Ams from Scout. They've moved him to Pocket Soldier. They've brought Tiger in to play Scout, and they have a Disky roaming. They've also had, like, some games, I think at least a couple games, they've not been playing with Raymond. They've been having Seeds murking as medic. At least a couple games and at least a couple wins with him as well. So it's 7, but not quite as we know it. Definitely to begin with, there was some real iffiness, but clearly they must have worked something out because 5-0-5-0ing the 3rd place seed is not something to be laughed at.
Yeah, just getting the best scout in Europe in Tiger, just adding him to the team and moving AMS onto his mains class, which is just Pocket Soldier, I'd say. Apparently just that's enough. I haven't actually seen the 7 versus whoever they played. Who was it? The Germans. I haven't actually seen that game, but it seems to have worked out real well.
Yeah, like a 5-0-5-0, you know, like I think you can more or less make some pretty clear conclusions from that. If you're winning a game that dominantly, taking 10 rounds to 0, then it could definitely shows a considerable thing.
Yeah, but I also think I read that Cadus, like, wasn't this just like a statement, like in a Team Force TV article, where Cadus said that they planned on using Seeds for the rest of the season. So I think we should just get used to Seed being there, and then like after the season is over, they're going to evaluate whether or not they want to continue with Seeds, and then like they'll probably restructure the team once again. But I don't know. It looks like Tiger and AMS and the D-Ski might be there to stay. It's more likely than Seeds, I'd say, but we don't know yet. So I think we should just get to know this 7 while we can.
I think it's a case of this season's going to play out however it is. And then you said they're gonna have quite a bit of time before the summer season anyway, so they can evaluate things. One thing I will say is that I think Cadis mentioned on his stream that the way he's kind of doing things with Seven is not so much worrying about trialing people. If people are good enough, they're on his radar. So in terms of like Tiger, he's based. I like Tiger and Adiski. Obviously, Adiski's played with Seven before. I think the idea is just play with them, and then if there are problems, like deal with them in whatever way is like most suitable. I don't think it's a case of like necessarily a trial period. It's just unless they're suddenly not, doing things how they should be. I suppose you can kind of treat it like a trial, but I think like the mentality is, yo, you're on the team, unless you do something really bad. I don't know. I think Seeds is a little bit of a different thing. If people don't know Seeds is a medic. He played for. He was on a team with Eames this season in Div 2. They got the top seed in Div 2A. I should know because it was mine, but I've already forgotten. I think it's 2A. Which is a very, very solid team. A lot of people were saying maybe they should have been like a Div 1 team because they're pounding. So kind of taking someone from maybe top Div 2, maybe like decent Div 1, who knows, and suddenly putting him into the top of Prem. I thought just from the games I've seen, Seeds has been adjusting really well, especially to like Seven specific playstyle.
Yeah, like he's been playing well, and I don't know. It seems to me like Medic is the easiest class to sort of step in and jump up a bit of a skill level. At least that's my experience. Like I don't think I could have done that on any other class when I did it back in my day, and I think Seed's gonna feel the same way. And it's just like there's a lot of positioning and just making really tight decisions and just staying calm in really stressful situations. And there's only really experience that does that, but you can gain that experience pretty quickly, like over the course of the season, or maybe even like up Prem playoffs. Who knows? It's just a matter of kind of controlling your adrenaline and making good decisions and really thinking about it.
Especially the way the Seven players, Cadis is a very controlling main caller. He'll kind of, if there's someone to kind of guide him, it makes sense to be a team like Seven. But said not to quite dwell on Seven too long. We have Ascent as they were actually first seed at the end of the season with 38 points. Ascent have looked really good this season. In a recent game against Seven, their main rivals, like there was one map, Sunshine, which was just basically a washout. They just couldn't get a foot in. But the Gully Wash game was really, really, really close. And I thought Ascent were doing some really kind of nice things to see in terms of aggressive peaks. A lot of teams, the way they'll treat these like equal Uber stalemates, they'll just stand around. Maybe they'll send a sack, whatever. Ascent taking a bit more kind of position, and like they were doing some like big peaks with like Josh and Alacor, where they'd get buffed and they'd just peek through almost like like shutters or like choke ones, whatever, and they'd just pick some of these Seven players off. And maybe in terms of consistency, like maybe later on that's something they're gonna like not be able to do. They'll get punished a bit more for it. But Ascent's kind of slightly more aggressive thing, I thought it made for an interesting game to watch, and definitely the problems they've been having. Ombrak was saying himself last time he was interviewed, they have a really clear idea of what their problems are, and they're going to be working to fix them as soon as possible. So, as much as Ascent not quite looking as dominant, Seven had their dodgy bit, but are now looking to be the team to beat. I think Ascent are gonna, at least, well, like they have every opportunity to win the whole season. Really, I don't think anyone should be going into the playoffs thinking, it's going to be like a one-horse race. I think it is going to be between Ascent and Seven, but I think either team can take it. They're both really good at the game.
Yeah, and the thing about this whole aggressively peaking thing that Ascent is doing is that it punishes teams that have poor coordination. And normally, Seven has really good coordination, but because of all the roster shuffle, maybe that's just going to be a case of they haven't been able to adjust fast enough and gel fast enough, really become a unit yet that they can deal with that. And Ascent will just have had more time to fix their issues, where Seven has now just come into it and started doing it. So that could definitely be a case of like that's how Ascent will win this. Only time will tell, of course. And then we have Omni 7 versus the Germans in the lower brackets right now, and that's probably going to be a really good game as well. I slightly favor the Germans, but like Omni 5
I would say as well.
Yeah, Omni 5 have just shown that they're really clutch, is how I would describe them. It's just whenever they end up in any kind of close situation, they just eke out wins and they make really good decisions out up the stretch. And that's basically how they won high, and now it's how they're winning games in Prem. And it's just, if you're in a golden cap situation with Omni 5, just be very afraid because they're extremely good at it. And so definitely looking forward to that. And I think they play pretty similarly as well. So like both matches right now are going to be really good.
I was going to say, there's probably no point saying who you're going to be rooting for that Omni 5 versus German game, because did you not play with almost that exact roster a couple seasons ago? Was it only a couple? Was it a couple seasons ago? Was it 2 or 3? Didn't you play with Demos and Gotti? And
I don't think I played with Demos. I played with Gotti. He was on Roma. That's pretty much the only one. But yeah, I will hype Gotti to the end of the world. That guy, that dude's he's the next coming of tech, is what he is. So absolutely keep an eye out for him. He's a fragger, and he's really, really smart. And he does a lot of really amazing jumps and things you just wouldn't have thought of. And just keep noticing just how often he gets a med pick or a med force where normally people just wouldn't think that was possible. So he's very smart, and he has very good DM. And he's going to be a big thing coming up.
In fairness, a team which goes from winning high to making Prem playoffs, yes, technically they were 5th seed. They got there a little bit by default, but, credit to them. They've clearly got something. So, I think we'll see how they progress as a team. Without knowing more about the playoffs, we're just going to have to wait and see. So I think it's about time. I think it's about time we unmute Corn Pop and give him his opportunity to be our NA correspondent, because we're just poor Euro plebs, basically. None of us have the time to watch all these American games because we have work or school or whatever. We're going to need you to break it down so we can understand.
I see. Well, I can do that for you. Basically, if you haven't been following along, I mean, ESEA, we just finished up our regular season last week, which means you're going into the playoffs now. Your lineup for playoffs is 1st seed Froyotech, 2nd seed Swift, 3rd seed Ascent, and then 4th seed Velocity. And that's pretty much what people expected. The Velocity getting in was a little close. It was really close, actually. They played the last match. The way the seeding worked out, or the regular season worked out, was basically there was going to be one game to decide it all. Velocity versus Running with Scissors, aka 8K. And 8K went up 4-0. So 3-0 in the first half, and then 4-0, I think, after 10 minutes of the second half. So it was basically done for Velocity, right? And then in one of the best comebacks I've ever seen, maybe the best comeback I've seen watching TF2. Velocity came back and they ended up winning that game 5-4. So really incredible match.
I was gonna say, I heard a lot on Twitter about this.
Yeah.
I heard it was actually completely nice. I think Dreamboat was just losing his mind over it. Would you highly recommend this as, if you're gonna rewatch any VOD in the lead up to playoffs, would you say that's the game to do it?
Oh, for sure. Because I don't know, it was on the same time as the Freo Ascent match too. So I think those two good games that people wanted to watch, and so you couldn't really watch both at the same time unless you're very skilled. So definitely I think people should be watching both of those games, because the Freo Ascent one was pretty good too, actually. I want to talk a bit about that, but in terms of the Velocity one, when they started coming back, the first round they got, I was like, okay, at least they got one. That's not as pathetic as getting rolled 5-0. Then they got a second one. I was like, we don't want to call it a comeback. And then they got the third one, and I was like, oh boy. And then 2 minutes left.
It's happening. It's happening.
Yeah,
oh.
Exactly. Yeah, 2 minutes remaining in the final half. They tied it up 4-4, then took it to Golden Cap and won it. It was a pretty long Golden Cap as well. It's back and forth. It was actually a nutty game. So yeah, both teams played really, really well. And that would have been really crushing for Velocity, just because that almost the exact same thing happened last season, but they didn't make it in. Last season, Faint Gaming made it into playoffs and Velocity didn't. And arguably, Velocity deserved that playoff spot more than Faint Gaming did. But it was nice that this time they actually got to play for it, and Velocity came out on top. So that's Velocity. As far as other teams, I mean, we can talk about Froyotech. They're good. They're going to be playing Velocity first seed. First round. They'll probably win. They did kind of struggle against Ascent on Thursday when they played their final game of the season. That game didn't really matter for anything. And Froyotech still, Froyotech went up 4-0 once again. We've seen a lot of 4-0s and then starts to comebacks and actual comebacks this season. But Froyotech goes up 4-0. And then they don't throw, but they start doing some questionable strategies. They just they take more risks, and ever since LAN they've been doing this where they'll go up 4-0 or they'll go up 3-0 and they'll start playing a bit silly, and then they'll end up dropping 3 rounds to the worst team in the league or something. And so they tried this against Ascent, and Ascent got some momentum. They won a round, and then Ferritech was okay. Let's actually win this game now. And then Ascent got another round. And Ascent got another round. So they were really looking to pull it back. And then Ascent were literally pushing last to get their 4th round, but they messed up their last push. And after that, Ferritech had the momentum, and they ended up winning it. So it was a 5-3 between Ferritech and Ascent, but that's still promising, I think, from Ascent. And Swift as well. Ascent and Swift are very, very close in skill. So I don't think it's impossible for Ferritech to not get first, but it's gonna be rough if they take it seriously, like they took before LAN ESEA. Because before LAN, I think they dropped 1 round the entire 4 weeks or 5 weeks that they played, and then after LAN, they were just dropping rounds left and right. They never lost a match. Ferritech's going in 16-0, but regardless, I mean,
it shows at least a bit the mindset, the fact that maybe things will be different in playoffs, but if they're kind of getting more I remember seasons and seasons ago back in the infamous Froyo versus the Bugs, some very passionate discussion of we're not the Bugs. You play the game, you win it, you say GG, whatever, you leave the server. That would appear has gone out the window. Now you win 4 rounds and you just start, you gotta, there's a certain amount to be said for that kind of bit of almost BM, get into their head. Maybe they're just gonna be thinking of that later on in the season when you play them again instead of actually focusing on their game. You can see it, but like I said, definitely in those situations you can kind of let the control of the game kind of go a bit, and then before you know it, you're actually on the back foot struggling to kind of keep up. So maybe the team to beat Froyo is Froyo.
Maybe. I think it's definitely a mentality shift because back in the day, I mean, Benny was very much against anything like that. At least from an outside perspective, that's what it seemed like. And so I don't think they're purposefully throwing in these situations, but I don't know. I feel like it's more on his team than him necessarily. Habib's the type of player.
We've seen the Shade stream.
Yeah, exactly. I think Shade ran the frying pan for all of this season, maybe all of last season. I don't know. And I mean, it's just a melee weapon, but still, I mean, that kind of shows the mentality. But I mean, the other 2 teams in playoffs, Swift and Ascent, they're very close. Swift did win both times they faced regular season. I think it was a 5-4 and or maybe it was a 3-4 and something like that. But it's very close between the 2 teams. And then you contrast that with LAN, where obviously Ascent won. That was a different roster. But you contrast that with even the Essentials tournaments, which maybe they don't take as seriously, but still Ascent were winning relatively decisively in the most recent one of those over Swift, and even challenged Ferritech in the grand finals of that. So it's interesting how these 2 teams play each other. It might just be every time that Ascent and Swift happen to go up against one another, Ascent are just having major issues with their roster, and Ascent have been having major issues all season long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Swift are probably the favorites to get second this season as of right now. But with their most recent switch, that could change for Ascent, just because they recently cut Patty, and now Mela is back playing with them. And
so just a quick question.
Yeah.
Was that an actual, as in cut Patty for performance reasons? Was it Patty being this isn't quite working, maybe you should play with Mela? Do we know for certain?
I believe they gave no comments. They just said, well, I don't even think I should technically say he was cut, because I don't think that was ever officially said. But they just said that Patty is no longer on the roster and Mela is. And I think TFT literally reached out for a comment and they refused to give one. So Patty's off the roster. That's it. There's nothing more we can say about it than just Patty's.
I'm just making sure we don't like to miss out on any drama here,
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think definitely if you're looking at the logs and stuff, I mean, Patty definitely has played better before. And I think just in terms of team cohesion, there was a lot of issues with that. Obviously it's hard to tell if you're not actually on the team, but from what I've heard, there were communication issues. And if we look at the most recent Ascent versus Swift, they lost it 4-3. This was Sunshine Week, so I think week 8 out of 9. And I mean, Patty's stats, he dropped a solid 169 DPM and like 30 frags. So he bottom damaged the server and didn't do great on frags either. So I mean, that's just one game, but like that was the game almost right before it was right before he got cut or stepped down.
Was
So-
no longer on the main roster.
Yeah, and like there were a lot of weird rumors going around. Like, I don't know how solidified like these actually were, but I heard like Nursey was gonna get cut at some point, and like Budonsky might have been off the roster. I don't know. So there was a lot of like, yeah, I know, and like Nursey's pretty damn good too. So it doesn't really make any sense. But I don't expect they'll have any more troubles after this. I feel like they're gonna be okay now. With Mela playing. We don't know about Mela's performances necessarily. I mean, he hasn't played all season. Obviously, he's been casting. So I'm a little bit worried in their match against Friotech. Obviously, Mela was playing for that game. He did good. I think he like top damaged his team, but he also like soaked up a lot of heals. So, and obviously Mela like not super used to the pocket role. But they wanted to keep Marmalou on roamer because he's pretty good at roaming. So I don't know. I'm a little bit cautiously optimistic. I think they could actually pull it out here, and certainly, despite their roster swaps, second is not out of their grasp. First is gonna be rough, but first is always gonna be rough when Friotech's playing. So
yeah, it just makes sense. Furrow is just like season after season after season, they're just so dominant.
yeah, and we kind of saw like this collapse starting last season, and like this was kind of the thing was last season. Ascent got third for the first time in like years. Like it'd been a long ass time. And so everybody was kind of like, well, that sucks. But if you look at Ascent's roster, I mean, it kind of makes sense. They were playing with Sandblast. They had Showstopper still. And then like Patty was still on the roster. So like everybody was like, yeah, you know what? This is just a fluke, right? This season Ascent rebuilt. They were like, all right, here's our new roster. We've got like Marlou now. We've got Slemnish and Corsa. They did lose Yomps, but still the roster looked a lot stronger for this season. So the fact that they're still struggling to get second kind of says something. I think it says more about like Swift than it does about Ascent necessarily, because I feel like Ascent have improved from last season, but Swift have just completely like shocked everybody with how good they've actually been playing. Because like I think they came into it like usually every year in Invite we've got this like one mixed team of like Invite players that'll die after a season. They don't try that hard. They can get third easily because they're just better than everybody else. But this season it's like Swift have been trying really hard. And I don't know if that's like partly because of LAN, because I know they were like really like stratting at LAN and stuff. Like they wanted to do well there, and they did perform well. They couldn't really find any upset wins, but like they almost beat 7 when they were playing with Captain. They almost beat Ascent. Like they played very, very well. They like dominated over Velocity. So certainly the Swift, like they look really good, and everybody on the Swift roster is actually like nuts. There's not really any standout player. Like if you look at Friotech or even like Ascent, you can maybe point out a couple players that stand out above the rest. But on Swift, it's like every single game, somebody else is or somebody different's top damaging, somebody different is like doing really well. And like I don't know, they had a really weird like final game in like on the last week. It didn't really matter, but they almost lost to My Anime List, which is a good team. They're like I think they ended it with 6th. So they're decent, but that was kind of a shock. We didn't even cover that match at all because it wasn't supposed to be that close. But I don't know. Maybe that says something about the game.
Definitely. Like I think in terms of like your main characters, like your main kind of like the leaders of the team, Furrow's got Banny. Ascent. Well, at least while they played with Paddy, they had Paddy, and he was always like kind of really had that like competitive mindset of just like I want to win. And I feel like when we got to LAN, Swift had AIM. He was that guy. He was that guy who was just like had that real competitive mindset of I want to win, I want to improve, I want to get my team sorted. And I guess like a lot of it may have stemmed kind of from LAN seeing, you know, hey, we performed pretty well at LAN, getting that real like competitive kind of drive going. And like the fact that Ascent aren't a clear like second place here, the fact that if anything, you know, it sounds like Swift are going to be maybe eking slightly higher likeliness to get second. I think it says a lot. It shows that Swift's really been stepping up and improving, and I think it's like I said, that's good to see. Like teams that are making active improvement and really sorting their shit out. That's what we need if we're gonna finally topple the kings that are Freo.
Yeah, no, I give it like maybe 60-40 in favor of Swift for getting into grand finals, let's just say. It's definitely a not over race. And even Velocity, like, well, maybe not that. Velocity, like, probably, I said, like, I give them like an 85% chance that they get fourth. So what does that leave? Like a 15% chance that they could sneak into third or higher. But they're not out. They're just like, Velocity as a team is having a lot of issues from what I've heard. And so, like, if, like, I don't know, Velocity feels so bad because, like, they've been a team that have been stuck together for a long, long time. And usually if you see a team that sticks together for a while, like, you want to see them improving. And they are improving. Like, they're certainly better than a lot of these other invite teams, but they just really, like, every time they try to get into playoffs and, like, try to break into this top three, they, like, seem like they can never do it. I think my prediction at the beginning of the season had them in third and, like, Swift down in fourth or something. But obviously that's not how things have played out. We'll see. Playoffs are different, but it's gonna be rough for Velocity.
Yeah, well, hopefully with the Easter break, I think a lot of people will be on. We'll actually be able to catch grand finals and catch some of these playoffs as poor little European plebs. So I always make a point, regardless of the timing, I always make a point of trying to watch the grand finals, even though it usually means staying up till like 5 a.m. or something.
Sometimes it means staying up to 5 a.m. for us. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, thank you to our NA correspondent. As always, you've I say as always, as per I think the last 2 times you come in, you have filled our brains with NA knowledge. So at least, you know, we're a little more up to date. So that's our main talking points covered. We've got a few general announcements to make. We have the ones which we're going to go back to month after month after month. Obviously, we have the European Monthly coming up 7th and 8th of April, first weekend of every month. That's your standard stuff. Same as always. Same prize pool. We've got about 1,000 euros. Same rule set. Everything that you know and love from monthlies is going to be happening all over again. So if you want a shot at some of that money, go sign up. Hopefully someone will post some kind of link. If not, it'll all be on TFTV. If you look under the event side on the left-hand side, you'll see it. And you'll also see a link to the NA Monthly. Again, NA Monthly is going to be 14th to 15th of April. So your European Monthly is the first weekend of each month. Your NA Monthly is the second weekend of each month. And once again, same prize pool. It's going to be about $1,000. Same rule set, all of that stuff. So we've had some really, really good stuff happening in the monthlies. Like, it's nice to have something which, by having regular tournaments, you get to see a different kind of play. Because, like, sometimes, you know, you'll get like a few weeks of a season where the top teams aren't really playing each other. They're playing like some of the lower level teams. So it kind of becomes a bit like you can make like a strong prediction, and like, I know 80% of the time what you expect going to happen is going to happen. But with these monthlies, like it was either the most recent monthly or the one before that, Ascent managed to beat Seven, take first place, and actually seeing Seven in that, like, kind of, you know, get knocked down. Suddenly Ascent became the team people were thinking, you know, that's gonna be the team to beat. Is this like the end of like the Seven reign? Those kind of storylines are always really, really good to see. And it's also nice on the slightly lower level. People get to play against teams they wouldn't necessarily play otherwise, and everyone has a shot at the money. So makes sense. In terms of our other announcements, we have a bit of shameless self-promotion from me and some of the other people at Essentials. We have Hugs.tf happening 21st and 22nd of April. So that's the third weekend of April. And hopefully someone's going to post some kind of link to Hugs.tf. Basically, it's this brilliant charity thing. We tend to do like a 26 of hour stream between the Saturday and the Sunday. There's all kinds of fun stuff. There's show matches, there's jumping, there's going to be like a bunch of significant European kind of guests. We're going to have a couple of boys from Seven, I believe. We're going to have Pumzilla and Cadis. We're going to have News. We're going to have Aggro, everyone's pal. Obviously, I'll be there. Loris, Tweak. We're bringing a lot of people over. So on the website, there's a reasonably full talent list, but there's going to be more information soon. So if you go to there, follow the Twitter, find out some more information.
Is there a drive to make Dr. Phil lose his shirt yet?
I think the Twitter rules may have changed regarding shirtlessness, so Chile.
Didn't they change back?
Did they?
I'm asking for a friend.
Corn Pop, you smirked like maybe you know the rules of shirtlessness on the streams.
I have no idea. I just am excited to see what Peter's trying to go on with this shirtless stream idea.
I think it's just every Hawks TF stream, usually Dr. Phil is there as well. And there's always in chat, it's just, whenever I look at chat, it's just like, whenever Dr. Phil's on screen, people are just like yelling at him to get his shirt off. Like, I can't remember the exact
It's more Phil, less shirt. That's
one.
your standard all-purpose, let's get the Dane drunk and shirtless. No official comment. Maybe not. Who knows? But yeah. More information is going to be out in the coming couple of weeks. It's all going to be on like Twitter or the website, all that stuff. As a result of Hugs being on the third weekend, this show will be almost exactly 1 month from now. It'll be the fourth weekend of April, just so we're not doing everything at the same time, because that wouldn't really make any sense. I've also been instructed by our Essentials overlords to shout out our social pages. So there's obviously the Twitter for Essentials, but apparently they have a brand new up-and-coming Instagram, and they're going to be spamming everyone's Instagram feed. I think that's how Instagram works. I don't know. They're going to be spamming Instagram with loads of stuff from the Copenhagen LAN. So if, like me, you're unable to attend but want to get that feeling of LAN, you too can sit there, look at pictures on your iPad and just be like, wow, this is sad that I'm not there. Missing any LAN is always a shame. Every LAN's good. There's no such thing as a bad LAN, ever.
That's true.
Everything
I went to a 3v3 TF2 LAN in Calgary last year, and it was a blast. I won. I'm a LAN champion, by the way.
Sick.
Are you serious? You won a 3v3?
I did. I think that's the only 3v3 TF2 tournament as well. So I'm pretty sure I'm the best 3v3 TF2 player in the world.
What did you play?
Just putting that out there. I played Soldier. It was me, two guys who had, I think, a combined 200 hours in TF2 as my two teammates. We ran Medic, Soldier, Sniper, because the Sniper guy was really good at Counter-Strike, so.
That's insane. I didn't even know that. I didn't know that before now. I didn't know that was a thing, let alone the fact that we have a 3v3. The world champion, I believe, because no one else has played.
I think so, yeah.
I would imagine. That's insane. All LANs are good LANs. Everything.
Yes.
I think whenever we introduce Corn Pop from now on, it should just be international 3v3 LAN champion Corn Pop is joining us with his mighty presence.
I'm going to keep the title until somebody challenges me on it, because I feel like I've got that claim.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, that's it. If it turns out you are that secret, if you're the Froyo of 3v3, challenge Corn Pop and whatever his team is called. What was your team called?
That's a good question.
It clearly meant a lot to you. Okay, moving on. I've also been told to instruct everyone there will be a new front end for the Essentials.tf website. There is a screenshot. I don't know if we're supposed to show that or whether we can. I don't know. It's going to look new and fancy. We've been told our OBS is frozen, so you'll have to just wait and see. Right. Deary me. I think that's all the announcements. We've stuck to somewhere near an hour. Let's not kind of continue too long and waste people's night too much. I'm going to go straight to your boy Beta. He's going to give us some shout outs and we'll wrap it all up.
Sure. I guess there's nothing less to say than just to check out the monthlies.
Oh, actually, sorry. Really,
I see how it is.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I did get a message about a Teespring campaign. I think we linked it earlier. I think if we can link it again, a Teespring campaign for production at Copenhagen Games. I don't want to have people read it because I didn't respond.
I during the whole NA segment, I was just buying shirts. That's how I spent my time, and they're pretty good. It's just basically a TF2 logo, but with the Danish flag over it. That's something I could actually think about wearing in public. It's not cringy. So
yeah,
that's a massive plus.
I can definitely see that. Right, sorry, Peter, back to you.
Yeah, I just want to say, check out the monthlies. Obviously, that's where there's a lot of viewers, and it's where the easiest money in TF2 is these days. So it's actually a lot of really good competition. And then you have, of course, the leagues, both ESEA and ETFL wrapping up at the same time. I don't think that happens too often. I think there's usually like a small discrepancy going on there. So just the fact that we have both playoff seasons happening at the same time is really convenient. Then, of course, get your ass to Copenhagen Land if you can, or at least tune in to check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. We even have some Highlander nerds attending, playing some tournaments there as well. So it should be good fun. I don't know how many teams are actually playing in both of those tournaments, but God bless those guys. They're going to
have some
busy.
really packed days. I think it's supposed to be like layered. I think we've got like a tier 2 lasagna where it's just like 6 it's Highlander, 6 it's Highlander, 6 it's Highlander. So they're just going to play like 12 hours a day. I suppose it's worth it for the money. Like,
yeah, what's dinner and toilet breaks? They're not going to know.
Yeah, who needs that? Who needs that?
Yeah.
The gamers. We don't need that.
Yeah. And then obviously, now that it's just me, just selfishly giving shout outs, I guess I'll mention that my Meet Your Map tournament has actually wrapped up its first deadline. We reached the first deadline, which is where they had to submit their map. So now it's up to me to pick the 3 best maps, and then there will be a big tournament where we're going to play those maps, and then there's going to be some money prizes as well. But more to announce with that later. And then
Sounds good.
Yeah, and then of course there's still Fantasy TF2 going on. You're a bit late to sign up, but I just wanted to mention it because it's still happening. And crucially, we have Hipfire not in first place, and that's very important to me personally. And like Hipfire's been trying so hard, so just the fact that someone else managed to knock him down a peg is really important, because you know he's gonna brag a lot, like a lot. But other than that, I don't think I have a whole lot of things going on. I just released the eTFL Season 29 highlight video. Check that one out if you haven't. Good times. It's like 12 minutes long. So
if you've got a few minutes to watch some frags, sit there, click like, subscribe. That's what people say. All that. Do all of those things to your boy Beta.
Yeah, do that. And then listen to these 2 guys, because I'm all out of shout-outs.
Cool. Then we're going to throw it to some shout-outs from International 3v3 champion, Corn Pop.
I guess the only thing I want to shout out is that in 2 hours and 48 minutes on Team Fortress TV, we're covering the Chapelaria Season 3 Grand Finals, Swift South America versus B-Work. It's the first time I've ever casted South America in TF2, and it's the first time we've ever done it on like TFTV. So if you want to watch some South American TF2, I strongly recommend you check it out. I don't know how good South Americans are. Maybe they're going to be garbage, but I hope not. I feel like they're going to be good. Ninjax is on the Swift South American team, and he plays in ESEA Invite, and he's like crazy nuts on Scout. So I expect it to be a really fun game. It's kind of like Argentina versus Brazil, not quite, but it's nice to see some flags other than America and Canada on the match page. So that's going to be a really exciting game. Go check that out. And otherwise, I don't know, just follow me on Twitter. I think it's on, is it on? No, it was on the stream earlier. Twitter.com/cornpop_16.
Right.
That's all. And come to the Calgary Expo in 3 weeks to fight me at LAN 3v3.
See if they can take your crown off you.
Exactly.
Well, fair enough. Well, I'm going to give some quick shout outs to obviously Beta and Cornpop for being here. We didn't mention it, but Omrak was supposed to be on and then had to ditch last minute because he forgot he organized scrims with Essential Ladders. So Beta stepped in very last minute as the excellent gamer he is to save us. Shout out to Gem for doing all the production and occasionally whispering information in our ear so we don't get everything wrong, just most of it. And shout out to all of my regular member boys and most importantly, hugs.tf. I think that's about it for us. We'll be back with another episode next month on the 4th weekend of April. We'll see you next time.